Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, everybody. It is Saturday, October 20th, and you know what that means. It is time for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host. I am not being carried off or carried away in handcuffs. I am Jeremy Pierce. Welcome. It's lovely to have you all here with me today, and we've got a nice little fine show for you. As always, you know you can check me out on my socials, Charismatic _creations 52 on Instagram, Charismatic Creations on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube. The 21615 on Twitter, spelled out, or you just click the link tree. As always, don't forget to check out the Blurred Cartel Friday night here. And Charismatic Gaming, we're going to be getting some more Digimon stuff up. Hopefully I'll be start streaming Multiverses soon. But last week we started our first another new series called The Comeback. People that have left companies or left the business and have come back, whether it be due to injury, or just self-retirement, money, whatever the case may be. But today we got another new series, X-Pac Heat. Go away Heat. You know what that is. If you don't, well, that's why you're here, and I'm going to help you out. But for now, you all know what's next, so just go on and hit my music. All right, so we have a solid week when it comes with some news. So the 8/12 episode of Smackdown, get this, brought in almost 2.5 million viewers. That is pretty decent. They brought in 2.4 million with a 0.45 and an 18-49 demo. I feel like SmackDown's going to climb. I want to see what the ratings are going to be for yesterday's episode, but that's really good. Konosuke Takeshita says he has no interest in signing with the WWE. He's actually a guy that I know Triple H would love, but he'll definitely get more sway, more play in AEW. He's already been positioned as like a top star, like not top star, but as more like a top credible opponent for everybody. And he's already put on bangers of matches with Moxley, with Claudio, with Eddie Kingston. It's awesome. Ezekiel, if you don't know, if you haven't seen, he will be out for a long time. Don't expect Ezekiel back. Expect Elias back. I figure Elias will be back once his beard grows back in, and he can finish feuding with Kevin Owens. Miss McMahon's hush money scandal is costing the WWE $10 million. That's how much it's going to cost for the filing. Vince did it to himself. Stop fucking up. And the investigation has actually been nearly completed. We'll see what happens with the fallout. We already got some of the fallout. Vince is gone. That's the major thing. But will there be any criminal dealings going down? We'll find out. AEW stars are expected to appear, maybe even possibly wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom is January 4th, and it looks like AEW is pre-taping Dynamite and Rampage during that week, obviously, so that means they can get the guys and girls to fly over for Wrestle Kingdom. I'm excited. Keep that Forbidden Door open. Raw saw a slight increase in viewership, bringing in 1.9 million viewers with a 0.53 in the 18-49 demo. So it did better in the demo than SmackDown, but lower in the viewership. That's only because, SmackDown's on a broadcast network. It's not bad. I expect the ratings to fluctuate just a little bit more. I mean, 2 weeks ago they did 2.2 million viewers. And hate the story. My girl, Chris Statlander is hurt again. She tore her ACL, this time on the left knee. She's expected to be out 6 to 8 months. She even tore her meniscus. So she could be back in time next year for Double or Nothing. And there were big plans for her. And it sucks. She was just getting on a roll. And I wish Chris a speedy recovery. Mickie James is unsure about her future in pro wrestling. She could possibly be retiring. Her son is growing up. She likes going to conventions and reconnecting with fans. She's going to face, she's supposed to face Lizzie Evo at the 1PW on October 1st, and she completed her Impact duty. She's still under contract to Impact, and she will be wrestling in Impact's Lone Star Stampede next week. So we'll see. I'm hoping Mickie can go for like another 5-6 years. Deonna Purrazzo is set to enter new contract negotiations with Impact Wrestling. They definitely can't let her go. She's been a big star for them after letting go of Tessa Blanchard. She's easily stepped into that role, becoming top star for the company, top star in women's wrestling. NXT with their Heatwave special in the partial UK NXT UK Invasion brought in 723,000 viewers, the .18 in the 18 to 49 demo. That's up tremendously from last week's, which did a 597,000. So the Heatwave special wasn't nothing to talk about. Wasn't, you're not gonna rave about it, but more viewers is always a good thing. I really don't usually cover these stories, but Bailey blasts Alexa Bliss for claiming she's been like Dakota Kai, and I like that to retweet Bailey because never change. Bailey, Alexa Bliss had the nerve to say that she's always been that person. She's always been, like Dakota Kai, and I'm like, no. Bailey's like, no, yeah. People will definitely agree that no, that's an untrue statement. You've never been Dakota. You'll never be Io. Alexa Bliss would never, ever be Io. So good luck with that. Bailey said, yeah, Alexa, you're not even in the stratosphere of Bailey, Bailey, Io, and Dakota. Not even close. And some shitty news: NXT UK is shutting down. It'll be rebranded NXT Europe. It looks like they're going to expand into the Europe more. It might even not even be like a brand, but more so maybe like a secondary company. And they've already been doing releases. WWE have already announced the end of NXT UK. It'll end with the Worlds Collide event between NXT and NXT UK. And the releases, there have been some big names, but the releases so far have been Amir Jordan, Danny Luna, Dave Mastiff, Amelia McKenzie, Primate, Nina Samuels, Rohan Raja, Shah Samuels, Sid Scala, Trent Seven, Ashton Smith, Jack Stars, T-Bone Tealman, Flash Morgan Webster, Wild Boy, Kenny Williams, Amale, Mark Andrews, Zaya Brookside, Eddie Dennis, Saxon Huxley, and Sam Gradwell. They're already in the alumni section of the WWE website, but there are a few names here that will definitely get picked up. Amira Jordan, Dave Mastiff, Nina Samuels, Trent Seven, Flash Morgan Webster, Amale, Mark Andrews, and Eddie Dennis, and Zaya Brookside. Zaya Brookside would definitely get picked up by somebody. Don't look now, but I have a feeling on the horizon, guys. MJF is coming. He'll be making his return soon. All of this stuff going on with Moxley, going on with CM Punk, has to spell the return of MJF, and that's what being reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that somewhat soon MJF is coming back. Let's do it. And 2.0 have signed a contract extension with NXT. These guys, not NXT, I'm sorry, AEW. These guys have been great ever since coming over to the company. Congratulations to these two guys from going from NXT jobbers to top competitors in AEW. That's the news, and we'll be right back. solid week for the shows. We had some good matches, some great, not like last week. Last week was just a banger, but overall we had another solid show. Judgment Day opened up the show, and they say they're going to finish the Mysterios off. They're going to finish Dom off. They're going to finish Ray off, and Ray tries to attack and he fails. And they're going to finish off Edge, and the Judgment Day have just been better. They've just been better recently. And I like how Rhea is positioned in the center as the alpha, as the one in charge. I hope they can continue to do that. Alexa Bliss and Asuka beat Nikki ASH in Doudrop. That was an inevitable conclusion, as they will face Kai and Sky in the second round. I'm hoping they do more with Nikki in Doudrop. There he had a backstage interview. He dropped some heat, some words on Ziggler, and it's led to a brawl between the two, and they will main event the show, which is odd. Miz and Ciampa beat Ali and Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander, who are a new tag team, but I feel like a Ciampa turn is coming. Maybe Ciampa Miz at Extreme Rules. We'll see. Ezekiel's family vows revenge on KO, and they had this picture of Ezekiel's family at his bedside at the hospital, and it was just Ezekiel, Elias as different people, and then there was a quick video with his dad. It's just saying they're gonna come for KO. I love it. We had an awesome back and forth promo between KO and Drew McIntyre. This was wow. Go check this out. Drew McIntyre was great. KO is back, and has led to an awesome match between the two. And it's one of the few times I'm actually fine with a DQ ending. I'm perfectly fine with how it ended, because it was inevitable, right? That the Usos would get involved and cause Drew the match. But just go check it out. Riddle got him a modicum of revenge on Seth, and they will face each other at Clash at the Castle. We had an beer squash. Last week we had an Omos squash. Lashley retained the United States Championship over AJ Styles. Miz and Ciampa tried getting involved, but they failed. And Dexter Lumis showed up. We still don't know what his motivations are, but he was there. The match was good, not great. It just never really got into like second gear, or even maybe even out of second gear. Dakota Kai easily disposed of Dana Brooke. That was a foregone conclusion. And Austin Theory beat Ziggler in the main event. It looks like this feud is over, and they can move on to different things. Over on Dynamite, CM Punk is bringing all of the smoke, and because of what happened, I feel like the audience and the IWC are slowly starting to turn on him. But he opened up the show, coming out, cutting the promo. First thing he did, he came at Hangman Page's neck, which was odd. Then he just fired some shots at Moxley, saying Mox is the third best person in his group. Say that that's the story of his career. He took shots at Eddie Kingston, that Eddie is only the second best Kingston that he's been in a locker room with, and only the third best Eddie he's been in the ring with. Moxley came out and fired some shots himself, saying, "Listen, all you are words. We know you only came because you needed the money." And a brawl broke out. Wasn't the best of brawls, but there was some heat behind it. And gosh, you got to pay attention that all of Punk's feuds, minus Darby Allin, have all been against people who have been trying to tell you that Punk is a piece of shit. Pay attention. Hobbs says he's not done with Ricky Starks or the Factory. Bryan Danielson won a 2 out of 3 falls match against Daniel Garcia. Daniel won the first fall with a Dragon Sleeper after a power driver, and I was fearing for Bryan Danielson's life. But Danielson came back and won the last 2 falls. Wanted to give props to Daniel Garcia. The crowd was chanting, "You're a wrestler." The JAS attacked Danielson, and Garcia intercedes. Just put your thinking caps on, people. Tony Nese was coming out for a match, and Mox was like, nah, hit him, and then called out Punk again, and another brawl broke out. So next week, we will have the unification match for the World Championship. Pay attention, everybody. Pay attention. Jericho wants answers from Daniel Garcia, wants to know where he stands. Ricky Steamboat got a little physical because he was the special guest timekeeper for the 2 out of 3 falls match. He told Jericho that Danielson would be a better mentor for Daniel Garcia. Remember, Daniel Garcia was one of the first names that Danielson said that he wanted in the BCC. The Gun Club squashed the Varsity Blondes. Stokely Hathaway showed up, allowing the Ass Boys to turn on their father, and Acclaim made the save. So this feud is not done. So that now means Stokely Hathaway's faction includes the Gun Club, Lee Moriarty, and Ethan Page. Jungle Boy wants to smoke with Christian. They are not done. Wardlow will be teaming up with FTR as they'll be continuing to feud with Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. This will help elevate Wardlow some more. You can get some of that FTR shine. Tony Storm beat Kylan King, and a returning Kenny Omega teamed up with the Young Bucks to defeat Andrade, Rush, and Dragon Lee in a first-round matchup in the Trios tournament. And this was a really, really good match. It's good to see Kenny back. He's selling. He's not great at selling, but he's selling the fact that, maybe he came back too early. After the match, Andrade, Rush, and turned on Dragon Lee. Looks like we might be getting a Dragon Lee face push. I am all for it. Over on Impact, the Impact Corner, Black Taurus won a fatal 4-way. Heath beat Kenny King, and Honor No More attacked and wanted PCO to finish him off, but Heath escaped. So we're still teasing PCO dissension with Honor No More. Mike Bailey retained the X Division Championship over Chris Bay, and Eddie Edwards won a 6-pack challenge to become the #1 contender for the World Championship. Nothing much on the front with the ladies. I would love for Impact to make the Knockouts Tag Team Champions a traveling championship. If it be able to defend it between Impact, AEW, and Ring of Honor. Over on SmackDown, same trend continues. Badass Ronda Rousey's here. She just showed up. Just showed up saying she won't stop kicking ass, crashing the show until she's reinstated, and she's taking out cuffs after taking out security. I love it. I love it. I love it. This is how Ronda Rousey should be portrayed. Toxic Attraction, who replaced Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark in the Women's Tag Team Tournament, defeated Natalya and Sonya. Toxic Attraction, again, weren't the original choice. It was Nikita and Zoe Stark. Zoe got a concussion, and Nikita Lyons, Maga the Stallion herself, is not vaccinated, so she could not enter Canada. Finding more and more reasons not to like Nikita Lyons. Just finding more and more reasons not to like Nikita Lyons. Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns had a really good talk. This is a really but back to the tag team match. All the matches of this tournament so far have all been longer than everything that's been in the Queen's Crown. That's already a plus. Sami and Roman had a really good talk. Sami just laid things out like, yo, cousins, think I'm not putting on weight, this, that, and the third, and I can handle this. And Roman's like, yo, you in that match later for the IC title. Yeah. The IC title looked good in the blow. All right, and then he says, yo, you still friends with Sam? You still friends with KO? Yeah. Tell him I don't owe him anything, because on Raw, KO told the Usos, yo, tell your cousin he owes me one. Woohoo! We're weaving, we're threads. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Hit Row took out Maximum Male Models and then had a performance. So it looks like this might be the first feud. I'll definitely take it. In a banger of a match, Sheamus won a fatal 5-way to face Gunther. A clash at the castle for the Intercontinental Championship. This match took 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes. It was a banger. It was so good. The other participants were Ricochet, Madcap Moss, Happy Corbin, and Sami Zayn. They even ran the injury angle with Sami because they were in Montreal. The Viking Raiders had a Viking funeral for the New Day. We had a Liv Morgan promo, and then she beat Shotzi. Listen, I'm tired of Shotzi and Zaya losing matches. I'm just tired of it. Shayna Baszler attacked Liv after the match in our main event segment. Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre had a face-to-face. Roman is a star. They ended up brawling, of course they did, and then Sami took a Claymore for Roman. Roman laid out Drew with the Superman punch and then went for a spear, but caught a Claymore. So I like the build here. I like the build here. Over on Rampage, we had an opening segment with Claudio just talking about the Ring of Honor World title, which by the way is an ugly title because he's going to do an open challenge. He wants a competitor for the world title. So next week it'll be him versus Dustin Rhodes, who answered the call. I'm cool with it. Swerve and Keith Lee retained the tag team championship over Private Party. Looks like we'll be getting a little face turn for Private Party. Hobbs says he's not done with the Factory's bullshit. He's not with it. Hook squashed Zach Clayton, and 2.0 wants a piece of Hook. Just weave it. Buddy Matthews had a standby match, and Hook just squashed Zach Clayton, beat Serpentico, and the Miro showed up with Malachi's black mask, and he takes out Buddy Matthews. Julia Hart had a look of concern on her face. Athena beat a returning Penelope Ford, and then the baddies took out Athena, destroyed her wings, and then beat up Athena. That wasn't the greatest of beat downs. And in the main event, the Best Friends advanced over the Trustbusters and the Trios tournaments. Our matches of the week from Raw: Kevin Owens versus Drew McIntyre. From Dynamite, the 2 out of 3 Falls match, Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia. Also from Dynamite, the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Roosh Dragon Lee and Andrade El Idolo. And from Smackdown, the Fatal 5-Way #1 contenders match for the IC title, Sheamus versus Ricochet versus Madcap versus Sami Zayn versus Happy Corbin. And our star of the week, I'm gonna give it to Ronda. She's just been better since the suspension. She's just been better and become more and more of a badass, and that's what I definitely want from her. But that's our week in review, and we shall be right back with our top story. Heat. What is heat? Well, heat is what we call the crowd reaction and the real life animosity between those involved in the wrestling or match. There's heat. There's something there. And we all, in the terms of what we're doing here, we're going to be using heat referring to the crowd reaction, and it's used heat to denote how much of a reaction a heel wrestler receives. It can also be used for a babyface. Sometimes the term could be used for a positive or negative reaction, but it almost genuinely refers to a negative reaction, whereas the opposite of heat is a pop. You pop the crowd, i.e. McFoley always saying, right here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, crowd cheers. That's a pop. Cheering, clapping, etc. Positive reaction, whereas heat is a negative reaction. And that's what we're talking about today. The heat that you get from the crowd on your performance. So that's what heat is. But we're not just talking about any kind of heat. We're just going to talk about go home heat, or X-Pac Heat, as it's been colloquially termed. But let's dive a little bit more into heat before we dive into um, the X-Pac Heat. So we have cheap heat. Cheap heat is just anything used to get boos. Anything, an easy way to get boos. One of the things that wrestlers do a lot, which kind of has been getting corny now, is this crowd sucks. These fans are stupid. Insulting the crowd. That's the easiest way to get boos. For Vince McMahon, it's just putting a foreign person out there, letting them be proud of their country and where they came from, just to elicit a reaction from the crowd. Cheap heat is very, very simple. It's very, very easy to get. And it can stem from trashing the crowd to referencing something that's happened in real life. One of the best examples of cheap heat was when KO and Elias were in Seattle and they were cutting a promo in the crowd, getting ready for an Elias performance, and they said something to the effect of, it's as stupid as having a basketball team in Seattle, and the crowd just went off and just booed and lost their mind. And you can see on KO and Elias's face that they weren't expecting that. They weren't really expecting that reaction. That was a great way to get cheap heat. It happened when CM Punk referenced the death of Paul Bearer. So that's cheap heat. Then we have canned heat. Canned heat is exactly that. You know what canned means. It's just when a recording is playing of the crowd booing. We have canned pops, canned heat. And it's happened more often than you think. Most recently happened when they tried to turn Becky Lynch heel, and the crowd wanted to cheer her because she was right in everything she said and did. So why would we actually boo her? You know what I mean? And so they had to put the boos in. But those are two types of heat. But let's talk about what we're really here for. That go home heat. So go home heat, go away heat, sometimes called nuclear heat, occurs when fans boo or jeer legitimately a disliked character. Sometimes the person, sometimes the wrestler, but it can be really, really bad. It can get really, really bad for the booking, for the character, for their actions, and no one's immune to it. Now there are times where the go away heat can just be a heel character is doing a really, really good job, simply from great character work, like Piper, like The Miz. So it can happen, but it's much less common today because we know fans, we're in the know. You know what I mean? And this is pretty much due to quote unquote smart marks. Realizing how good the character work is, instead of booing, we cheer. It happens. It just happens. But go home heat is because the fans, most of the time we feel that someone's getting pushed too aggressively, too much over other people we think deserve it. We'll probably talk about this at another point, but remember Rey Mysterio being number 30 in the Royal Rumble when Daniel Bryan wasn't in the Royal Rumble and Rey Mysterio got booed. Now, how many times can you think about Rey Mysterio actually getting booed? Um, yeah. And it comes from, somebody being undeserving of a push, or the characters become stale and boring and interesting. Yeah, there's going to be a few people on this list. Oh, we can talk about this for a hot minute. But the term really, really got popularized as X-Pac Heat. It's crazy, right? That he became like kind of the term for it. X-Pac overstayed his welcome. And you know what? Let's start with, X-Pac. Now, if you don't know who X-Pac is, X-Pac was a member of the NWO, of the Clique, really, really good friends with Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. So he was always in the know, right? At times he was very, 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 very popular. Other times he was hated. And, he had some really good feuds. He was known for beating, was it Bret Hart? The 1, 2, 3 kid? And X-Pac pretty much outstayed his welcome. Now, what do you mean he outstayed his welcome? Well, during the Invasion storyline where X-Pac, he was on the WWF side, and he was mostly portrayed as a hero, fans just didn't like him. Just didn't. And it got so bad to the point where Billy Kidman of the Alliance and Edge, WWF member, acknowledged it. You know what I mean? It's when wrestlers start to acknowledge it, that's when you've done something. Now, let's dive a little more into it. So it's 2001. He had returned from a neck injury. He had briefly feuded with Jericho over the IC title. Was in a fatal 4-way at No Way Out. But he was coming back. He started a stable. X-Pac had his own stable called X Factor with Just Incredible and Albert. He won the light heavyweight championship from Jeff Hardy. He won the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. So he was getting a nice little push. And his Cruiserweight Championship reign came during the Invasion angle, where the WWF were portrayed as faces and the ECW WCW Alliance were portrayed as the heels. And for some reason, X-Pac was just hated by the fans. And they hated his reign. And this is where we got the X-Pac Heat term from. And it was odd because there wasn't a reason to dislike X-Pac, but fans just hated him. They just did. And it took a minute for him to recover. He did eventually, and we got X-Pac back. Next up, how about Jeff Jarrett? So, at what point was Jeff Jarrett hated? Well, this goes to the early days of TNA. The early days of TNA, where Jeff Jarrett pretty much had his own reign of terror with the World Championship. His reign of terror was not fun. He was kind of the mainstay champion of TNA in his early days. Him, Raven, Rhino, Ron Killings, AJ Styles. But by 2006, it was a wrap. It was it was really, really, really bad. Fans were literally chanting, "Drop the title, drop the title," and it had gotten so bad that Jeff Jarrett's TNA, his WCW tenure just was viewed really badly, and he didn't even have a bad WCW tenure. Fans were chanting "Fuck you, Jeff Jarrett," and he really was really hated. And there were very good reasons why. So during the first 4 years of TNA, when they had the NWA World Championship, he was world champion for about 3 years. Occasionally he would lose, only to win it back not soon here thereafter. And the title became meaningless. It eventually became a prop for Jeff Jarrett. And because he was the founder of TNA, he could do whatever he wanted. He essentially built the company around him. Fans were chanting Triple J, and it got worse for Jeff Jarrett. So Kurt and Karen Angle got divorced. It was later revealed in 2009 that Jeff Jarrett started dating Karen Angle, causing real life animosity between Kurt, and this was directed towards Jeff by the fans. Jeff and Karen are still married today. Things have been healed, but the board of directors had to put Jeff Jarrett on leave. And it became a real life storyline. Think what happened between Edge and Lita and Matt Hardy. Jeff Jarrett became hated, like despised. And that's what happens when you continuously prop yourself up above others. He was champion for 3 of 4 years in the beginning of TNA. 3 of 4. That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's move on to how about AEW? This is recent. You know exactly who I am going to be speaking of. Cody and Brandy Rhodes. Let's start with Brandy, because she kind of caught it for a multitude of reasons. Part of it unjustly because she's a woman. So, she wasn't the greatest of in-ring workers, and she had the Nightmare Collective, this stable of her, Luther, Awesome Kong, and Mel. It was really bad. It was really bad, and it got so bad they had to disband it. They had to get rid of the faction because it just wasn't getting over. So they did the smart thing and got rid of it. Then she moved on to become her husband, Cody's valet, manager, whatever, and then the fans still soured on her. And Cody was, still at the top. We'll move to Cody. We'll get to Cody. She was starting to be compared to Poochie. Remember Poochie from The Simpsons? Just go back and check that out. She always got involved in her husband's matches and her husband's feuds. And her promos didn't come off great. She was obviously compared to Stephanie McMahon. Despite being a face banner, she never really got over. She's been accused, just like her husband, of using wrestlers as a stepping stone for other projects like her reality show and the fans' opinions of her. And it was revealed that she planned to win the women's championship, but she got pregnant to take maternity leave, and but she was pushed right back into a prominent role, and her X-Pac Heat ended up being so great that when she cut a promo down Dan Lambert, who was incredibly hated, he was cheered. He was cheered. That's how bad it got for Brandy. Cody faced the same thing. Originally, he was liked. He broke free from the WWE. He helped create AEW and was the company's top face over whoever the champion was. And he had really good feuds with Jericho, really good feuds with MJF, and was the inaugural TNT champion. So things were great. He even helped get Brody Lee over. Then things took a turn. I don't even care about the neck tattoo. I actually like the neck tattoo. That's just stupid. We've seen way worse tattoos. So he had an injury angle. He left to film a game show, which is fine. And then as soon as he came back, he just won the championship back in a bull rope match over Brody Lee. Like, what? He then lost at the Derby, but guess what? Why did you need to win it back if you could have just done something else and let Darby beat Brody Lee? And it just never got better. Though for me, the big thing that really hurt Cody was him defeating Anthony Ogogo. That wasn't great. He did not need to defeat Anthony Ogogo in their feud. You had a chance to make a new star, and you didn't do it. And you brought it upon yourself. That's exactly what you did. You brought it upon yourself, and it just got worse and worse and worse with him. And it just wasn't going to get better for him. He started distancing himself from the elites, and he started doing this thing where, rightly or wrongly, he would come in, work a program with whomever was hot, beat him, and then just do it all over again. Wash, rinse, and repeat. And this, no matter how good his in-ring work was, which it was, no matter how good it was, it just didn't work. And he started getting alienated and started getting booed relentlessly, noticeably during his feud with Malachi Black, despite Cody being the face. When you're the good guy and you're doing good things and you're still getting booed, you're doing something wrong. He cut this really weird promo with Brody's and Jay. It was a weird thing, and he just never recovered. But leaving AEW, going back to the WWE, which we all thought would not happen, it did. He got over it and became essentially the company's top face, but he's out with an injury right now. Live and learn. Live and learn. And lastly, we will finish with Seth Rollins. Now, where does Seth Rollins fit here? Oh, you should know what I'm going to be referring to. You should know what we're going to be talking about. His feud with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. Yeah. Let's just go right to the straw that broke the camel's back. the Hell in a Cell match. The match was booked horribly. First things first, the Fiend's red lighting mixed with the red Hell in a Cell does not work. It just doesn't. So how did Seth catch this heat? Well, it was the ending of the match. So no matter what Seth did, he couldn't put the Fiend down. So he ended up burying, the trope, burying a monster under all this stuff. The Fiend is under all the stuff, and he's got I want to say it's a chair over his head, a couple chairs, a toolbox over his head as well. And the ref's like, all right, Seth, what are you doing? Seth then has a sledgehammer in his hand. So truly, Seth, what the fuck are you doing? Well, Seth takes the sledgehammer and hits the Fiend in the head. The ref calls for the DQ. Wait, Jeremy, what do you... No, I'm sorry, not the DQ, no contest. Wait, but Jeremy, what do you mean he called for the no contest? Yes, a Hell in a Cell match, notorious for being no disqualification, no rules, ended in a no contest. And this isn't the first time I'm saying, but that ending was horrible. Horrible. Seth was the face, and the fans turned like that. Booed. Now, mind you, this was a really good babyface Seth who had just dethroned Brock Lesnar. Was fighting and climbing and clawing, and he dethroned Brock Lesnar. So Seth was over as a face. But this turned him quickly, and he was never able to recover as a babyface. Now, I'll give the E credit where they used this and turned him into Seth freaking Rollins. And he slowly became more and more unhinged and became crazy and started wearing the crazy outfits. And that's how we got the Seth Rollins we have now with the Burn It Down. So they recovered. Question is, can Seth ever go back to being a face? I don't really think so, but I would like to think that it could happen. Randy Orton is so much better as a heel, but he's been great as a face so far. So that X-Pac Heat is dangerous. It can end careers. It can make you hate it. It can turn fans on you quickly. Ask Cody Rhodes. He and Brandy had to leave AEW. There was other things going on behind the scenes, but essentially he had to leave AEW. Not just due to the heat, but it was a catalyst. So X-Pac Heat is a dangerous thing, and we gave you 5 people. And there are so many more that we could just talk about. But I'll leave you all there. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. And I appreciate it. Hopefully I won't get another copyright claim. It's 2 weeks in a row I've gotten copyright claims like they're coming for me now. As always, check me out on my socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, the 215 on Twitter. Next week, we will have the next part of our Master of Disguise series. Can't wait to do that. And as always, Xia Li, Wendy Chu, Shotzi Blackheart, and of course, shout out to my baby, the future mother of my children, Gigi Dolan. Holla at your boy. Peace.